Welcome everyone to Spirit Coffee Talk. I'm Ginette Biro and I'm joined by Elyse Richmond today. Elyse is not able to make it today, so you have the two of us. And our desire today is to help bring back some joy factor because everything is very intense. The world stage is very intense. The fear energies are very intense. The changing cosmic energies are very intense. The amount of spirit communication that's trying to come through but gets warbled is intense, and so that makes our internal worlds intense.
Yeah, heavy.
Yeah, heavy and all over the map, ups and downs, and this is like
Totally.
such a squeeze time on humanity. And remember, we still have those like merging, crossing timelines until about March 10th. So it's intense to say the least.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yes. But we were talking about the things like when we go through our day-to-day stuff, like the highs and the lows. So here's the thing. Straight across the board, you're probably feeling highs and lows. Like one minute you're like, "Oh my God, I don't know whether to cry or throw something across the room." Like, I don't know, right? And
Yeah.
then one minute it can be like, let's turn on some music. And then all of a sudden it's like, why? Like, why don't I know what's happening with my life? Right? Like it's woo, 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 woo. So that's super normal. Super normal. It is also super normal. Tons of people are feeling that kind of heavy cloud where it's
Mhm.
like, I'm okay. I don't know. I don't really care. I'm not here, not there. It just kind of feels heavy, like this dark.
Mhm.
So we were kind of talking before we were recording on the things that like when you can just like understand that that's happening and the ability to kind of like just push it aside for a sec and what can bring you joy. And for me, since I was a kid too, is like movies. I love Disney movies. They make me so happy. The Disney Channel is literally my favorite thing ever in the world. And so I have four kids. One's not watching Disney with me. She's older. But the three littles, like that's what I can like do this and kind of like clear the room of all the stuff. And then there they are. They're standing there. And my littlest is wearing her Mirabelle dress. It's way too big for her because she's only two. And we are singing We Don't Talk About Bruno. And we're like dancing and popcorn and like the little things. Like the little things, like we're in so dire need of spring here in the Okanagan. We still have snow, like
Oh,
lots of it, and it's pretty
amazing.
cold. And my kids rode their bike to school today because they're like, nope, it will be spring. They've got like winter mitts on, and they're like through the ice.
So funny.
I just watching that, like just trying to like finding the pieces of joy. Sweatpants. We talked about sweatpants. I know that brings me so much joy.
Me too. I had a moment of reflection on that this morning. I was like, how grateful am I to be able to wear loose pants to work? It was like,
Totally.
I don't have to wear tight pants. And it was like, I brought in the joy of that moment and I kind of giggled to myself. I'm like, this is really funny. But I was,
That's funny that you had that this morning.
I did.
That is the
Yep.
same. I'm like, "Ugh," because I look at COVID, my COVID wardrobe, and like Aritzia loungewear. That's what I have. I have like Aritzia loungewear set number 1, 2, and 3. The matching set. Then I have like the big comfy sweatpants, like the big bulky ones that
Yeah.
is like, and then I have like the little bit cuter, like tighter, cuter ones. And then somewhere in between, I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
I really invested into this loungewear, but I'm so grateful
Yeah.
because they make me so happy.
It's true. It's true. Even in dance class last night, normally I'll wear like Lulu's or dance fitted clothes, right? That's what we normally wear. Last night I was like sweatpants. I wore baggy sweatpants, baggy sweatshirt. That
Oh,
was
that's
my dance.
amazing.
I mean, it's anything goes, but like that's what I needed to make me feel comfortable and then just like dive into the music and have fun in the music. And it just was like, what? I
Brings
think
you joy, hey?
yeah, that's the question right now is what brings you joy? And it might be the silliest of things like sweatpants. But if it's
Mhm,
that, let it be that. I mean,
totally.
I think so much of what I've been getting from Spirit too continually right now is shift your perspective. Like we have to
Totally.
take ownership of our perspective, hang on to it really tight until someone pries it off, right? Like we have to own our perspective because that is where we can have control when there's chaos everywhere. We have to choose we can still stay open-eyed to the chaos. We can observe it, absolutely. But we have to choose what our internal environment is going to be with that and what are the things that bring you that.
100%. Because choosing your perspective too is like, if your perspective is we're doomed, like, and I know that we can feel that. We go in moments where we're watching the news and we're hearing this stuff and we're seeing it on our social media. Like that's the thing with like TikTok and Insta, like you can see they're there.
Yeah.
You're watching a video of them there and you're like, whoa, right? This is like, and so I acknowledge that. I do. And I acknowledge the perspective of like, oh my gosh, I can feel for them. But I think taking responsibility for our perspective in all ways, where it's like, okay, I can't be there and change it, but what I can do is I can pray for them, or I can send them love, or I can open my heart energetically and send it straight to everybody that needs it for the collective, right? And then I can take a step back and say, how do I want my surroundings to look? And I honestly think that sometimes, and I don't know if this is just like an outdated thing where it was really intertwined in old beliefs. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's almost like people feel almost guilty for being joyous
Mm.
in a time when far away, like there's really destructive things happening. And so it's almost like, look at us. We're getting together with families and we're having the best time. And I'm being silly and goofy, but like that, we shouldn't be doing that when all this is happening. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm not telling you what's right or wrong, but for me personally, I feel like taking control of your own perspective can create more love.
Exactly.
That is, like we talked about before, the ripple effect. So,
Mhm.
like creating joy and love in your surroundings instead of like fear and sorrow
Mhm.
is, and then all of a sudden amplify that. Every house and every family is continually doing that. That is the amplified energy, right?
Yeah.
So, I feel like give yourself permission to have some fun.
Mhm.
They're like joy, fun. The sun's coming out a little bit more. Spring's right around the corner. Like, let's go have some fun. Like
Mhm.
silly fun,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. And two is that fun energy is a high vibrational frequency can amplify your intentions, your dreams, your desires. And because
Totally.
March is like, there's no planets in retrograde in March, means fast forward movement. So we're going to see fast forward movement in both the light and the dark. So we're going to see fast forward movement of stuff maybe we don't want to see, but that's because we are moving faster this month, period.
Yeah.
But what that means too is we can more quickly shift our narrative, shift our manifestations,
Yeah.
and the alignments, right? So we have to choose, are we going to be on the roller coaster that's really fun, or are we going to be on the roller coaster that's terror?
That's terror. And sometimes people choose the terror one.
And sometimes we'll find ourselves caught on the terror one
Yeah.
too. But we just have to then find our way back through
Totally.
conscious choice back to the light one. So, I
Totally.
mean, with this rapid movement, there's going to be a lot of opportunities to continually choose over and over and over again. And I think that's something else too. It's like if you have one day, I had one day where it was just like great and joyful and positive and fun. And then the next day, I was like in tears.
Mhm.
And I'm
Yeah.
not someone
That's
who
what I'm saying. Like,
bursts into tears right away, right? I don't do that often. And so for me, I was like, where is this coming from? It just wouldn't stop. It wouldn't stop. But when I stopped being like, what? And instead embraced the tears, I was like, okay, let's let them flow.
yeah.
I snuggled my dog and and
Yeah.
then I was like, okay, now what are we going to do? Okay, well, now I
That's
let that
the
out.
Celine
I get
Dion
back to
all
joy.
by myself.
Right? Cranked it really loud. But it was like, it was such an example of the two roller coasters.
Hmm.
And we're going to move through them and we just constantly, continually choose
Choose.
over and over again.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Sure.
You know what? This keeps coming up and it keeps coming up in my like sessions and stuff, people too,
Mm-hmm.
is choosing this perspective, right? Is like really we've gone through so much and it doesn't matter who you are, you've gone through stuff. Like there's been stuff
Yeah.
that we've really like had to sit in and go through, right? And we're now, because things are so amplified and moving so quickly, everyone's like, what's going to happen. I need to know, like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to go forward? How? I need the answers, right? And we said this before a couple weeks ago, I think, is, well, what do you want? And I keep
Mhm.
saying, like, take off the glasses, the perspective of, I've been through all this stuff and I'm in the shadow, I'm in the dark. They're like, well, that's because you're still wearing your dark glasses. Take them off, put on your rosy ones, and
Mhm.
say, now I want this and this and this, because everything is lined up literally. And our guy, and like the veil's thin, it is lined up to help us in our dreams, in our wants, and our desires,
Mhm.
right? So we have really gone through a bunch and seen everything. And so that we can, in a big, giant perspective, say, well, I know now this is not what I want, and I don't want to go down this path. But if you're still wearing the glasses, you're like, but I don't know where to go. And everything has just felt really dark.
Mhm.
Like, take them off, put on the rosy ones. And I see the rosy ones as like, like big Elton John glasses.
Yeah.
Like really sparkly ones that you literally see like pink,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, yeah, now where do I want to go? Like, crank up the music. What do I want? And then Spirit's like, yes, okay, now we can help you because you're telling us what you want.
Mhm.
So now you're creating your path, and you just keep walking, trusting that the path is going to continue there. Whereas I think sometimes where we are right now is like we're so used to being in that kind of like dark cave with the dark glasses, and we're like bumping into each other, and we're like, I don't know where to go, like, and I know that's a silly way to explain it, but it's kind of true,
Yeah, it's
right? So
valid.
if we can like visualize ourselves being like, okay, full permission to say exactly what I want and hold on to it
Mhm.
until it's literally taken from your grip. Like, hold on to what you want, put the glasses on, walk forward, and be like, this is exactly what I want.
Mhm.
So Spirit and your guides and everything be like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think too an important piece for that is when some people, and I know I've been here, so I'm talking from experience of when we've been or I've been in the darkest hole, right? Like different times in my life, I have been in the dark and I am at a loss, right? It gets to a point where I've asked myself, well, it is shitty.
Mhm.
Now, what can you do from this moment? Right?
Totally.
Like that's where you start is in this very moment. And one time, one of those moments was when I was so sick, my heart was so weak, I couldn't get out of bed to walk. I could get out of bed, but I could barely walk 5 steps to use the washroom and back without being out of breath, winded, dizzy, everything. And I remember I laid back in bed and I thought, okay, I can feel my heart pumping way beyond. Maybe I'll have a heart attack right now. What can I do in this moment? Because this is the worst. What can I do? And I was like, well, I can surrender. And I can be really grateful that I can get into a really cozy bed because there's some people that can't. I could
Yeah,
start there.
totally.
And you find where you can start, even if it's the tiniest morsel. You start there and you build. What can I do now? What can I do now? What can I do
Totally.
now? And you slowly create steps to get yourself out of there. It's not just like in that moment you're like, okay, I'm gonna be happy. Let's crank some music. Because, and I'm not saying you're saying that, but I'm saying for people that don't even know where
Next,
to start,
next step.
like
Yeah,
with
what
the
is it?
view that you have, what can you do in that view? And as
Yeah,
you take a step, it'll get wider and wider and wider.
totally. That's a very good way of putting it, is that
Yeah.
it's not just an open road, step
Yeah.
by step, baby steps, right?
Steps.
That reminds me of an Esther Hicks thing my sister-in-law sent me, and she was talking about just that. And
Mm,
she said she sometimes has to start with laying down on her pillow and just starting with her pillow
yeah.
and having that like gratitude for the pillow and how
Yeah.
soft it is and how amazing, like she like smells it and feels it and holds it, and it's like then you're already shifting the like energy that you're putting out. You're already shifting the vibration in which you're going forward in by starting there.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's a really powerful thing once we realize that starting piece is completely of our control and it resides in our mind.
Yeah.
That's a power point when you once you realize that,
Yeah.
right? Like
Totally.
so and then we can shift it into joy because like you were saying in the beginning, it is okay to be joyful or choose joy, and it doesn't have to be excess obnoxious joy, but just finding gratitude can
It is for
equal
me
joy.
sometimes. I'm like super obnoxious sometimes.
No, but that's okay too. But I even mean like what the thought that came to me was even like at funerals,
Mhm.
right? At funerals, we have this expectation of being
Somber.
somber,
Mhm.
general idea. But any spirit I have talked to when they've passed, they are like, don't be sad for me.
Yeah,
Be joyful. Remember the good of me. So, like,
totally.
even at funerals, there's a song. I think it's Bare Naked Ladies. They're like, I'm the kind of guy who would laugh at a funeral,
Mhm.
right? Like, it's not
And if
about being
that's what you need,
obnoxious.
I will. Yeah,
Yeah, I know. It's not about being obnoxious, but it's like you can still have joy in any kind of moment based on
totally,
perspective, right? Like,
totally.
within reason, okay? Definitely within reason. There's some where it's like, no, I'm just going to be dark.
Yeah.
I'm not there.
And you can ask yourself, do I want to change the glasses? Do I want to, or do I want to just sit in this for a sec? And then that removes the resistance to feeling the feels. If you are just wanting to sit in it, then allow yourself to.
Yeah.
When you're ready, like, and that's why I'm saying it's interesting with the days becoming longer, the sun staying a little bit longer. Like it's
Hmm.
the light is literally starting to come out more.
I know,
So
and
bit by
that's
bit.
what I love. We have the equinox this month on the 20th. And although that's the time of balance, right? Like equinox is balance, to me, equinox is really when we have the return of the light because
Yeah.
after that point, the light dominates a little bit
Yeah.
more every day,
Yeah.
right? And I find that like to me, that's like New Year is when
Totally.
the light is dominant. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good energetic boost for everyone.
Totally.
Yeah. Hmm. I'm feeling a pull to pull a card here.
Cards? I know, me too. Like,
You?
let's pull cards. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna use tarot too.
You're gonna use tarot? I think I'm gonna use the Starseed Oracle.
Okay.
Hmm.
There's something in here that the guides are kind of pulling at.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so I got the Queen of Swords, the Ace of Swords, and the Seven of Pentacles. So, Queen of Swords is like your emotional world. So, I'm not talking about different signs, different cards apply to different signs. In this one, what I'm getting from Spirit is like, this is the swords are the emotions. And so,
Mhm.
when you get the Queen of Swords, this is like mastering your emotional self, which is crazy because that's exactly what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
And so when that is followed by the Ace of Swords, the Ace of Swords normally has an actual sword, one singular sword on the picture, not like this. But the Ace of Swords is like claim your stake, claim your spot, claim your emotions, choose where you want to start from. So I love that these two are talking about emotions. And then we bring in the Seven of Pentacles, which is like plant your seeds and choose how
Oh,
you
I
wish to have
love
it
that.
grow, right? And how you wish to have it grow is like what we're saying is what do you want to do in the moment
Yeah.
and then go from there. Or that like start with the perspective you have and allow it to open, which is the whole idea of growth. So these are quite
Oh,
supportive
yeah, of course.
and
I
lovely.
love that deck too. What a great tarot.
Yeah, for anyone that's interested, it's the Light Seers Tarot deck. Um, is my absolute favorite. The images are just stunning.
Do you find that you're using tarot more?
I do actually, yeah. For my daily card readings on my YouTube page, I've still been sticking with Oracle, but it was funny today. Spirit was like, "You should use tarot next week, or the week after." Week after, they're saying. Anyway, what did you get?
I got a new earth.
Huh.
So with the new earth, it's happening. Keep holding the vision. So keep holding your perspective. Hold on to it. Like,
Hold
what
that
do you
frequency.
want? A new earth is coming. You know what I mean? Like, we are in it. We talk about this over and over and over. So, and then I really like this because this is big picture thinking.
Hmm. I like
And
it.
specifically the visionary and inspired ideas. So big picture, like, so new earth, hold on to the fact that this earth is coming, and then the inspired ideas is what do you want. So
Hmm.
this is all about visions. inspired ideas, visionary, holding the vision. It's like, what do you want?
Hmm.
That's what's keeping your energy vibration where it is, wherever it is. So, like, hold on to your vision. You hold on to it so that you can be led there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Beautiful.
I like that. I like that that's so validated for us and what we talked about. And I
Yeah,
love that about cards is that it just comes through to completely validate that.
yeah.
And so you can use spirit and, our intuitive parts of us that gets validated, but then also our very human parts
Hmm.
that are like, I need to have some fun. Like
Hmm.
I need, I'm not saying that spirit isn't fun. Spirit's lots of fun, but like 3D, like just silly fun sometimes. And I
Hmm.
think that's just personally where I'm at
Yeah,
right now.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think that's a great note to end on for everyone is that if this hopefully inspires you to find that joy, somehow reclaim that joy, um, that's fantastic. And if there's anyone else that you feel that would benefit from this message, then to please share it with them. Our hope and desire is just to spread stories, insights, to help us all consciously choose how we want to be. And today we're talking about like reclaiming joy. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Any last minute thing to add?
Oh, it's just like that joyous energy, even in the smallest things on a day-to-day basis. It's like we can see large joy in the little things, right? So don't forget that they're right around you all the time.
Yeah.
So again, if we need to start small, the baby steps is that we can find joy in a funny little comic that we read, or we can find joy in just the tiny or something our pets do.
Hmm.
Because they're I find, I don't know if you've found this with your pets, but like pets are such high vibrational beings that they're like, don't forget that like you can come to us, like we are here to provide you with this like high vibe love, and
Hmm.
we're here maneuvering around in our like chaos, right?
Hmm.
And you look down at your dog or your cat and they're like, remember me? Remember
Maddie,
me?
as soon as you started talking about that, she ran down the stairs and just showed up
See,
right there.
I
Yeah,
know my cat is jumping up at the
that's
side of my
hilarious.
window here. It's so
That's so
funny.
funny. Yeah,
Yeah, that's there
awesome.
to remind us, hey, like we are simple joy. We carry love. That's our job
Yeah,
here. So
totally, totally.
peddle your pets or your babies or your flowers or whatever it is,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Cool.
Totally.
Well,
All
have a
right,
good
everyone.
weekend.
Yes, you
Good week.
too. And yeah, we will see you guys again next week.
Sounds good.